Well, ain't this just exciting? I have had this as my main gaming machine for so long. Probably a good, maybe, I say so long, year and a half now? To be quite honest with you, it's not a great PC. Started off with a GTX 1050 Ti, an AliExpress motherboard. It's running an Xeon as its CPU. Back then, I had just gotten a job, I needed a PC, and I was on a budget. But today is the day. I managed to save up, get some good fans, a good processor, a good SSD, everything. A few things, like the case, will be kept from the old PC, but today is the day that I build my new, very powerful PC. And it's time to start building the new one. Let's get the motherboard out. There it is. Let's do our CPU first. We've got a Ryzen 7 5000. We've got a Ryzen 7 5800X. So we're still in the AM4 socket, but that's not too bad. We've got our AIO, which is the Master Liquid ML240L V2 ARGB. Hallelujah. 2 sickle foil fans. A little bit of thermal paste. And of course, the AIO itself. Here it is. Oh yeah, Aurora's motherboard came with a really pretty sticker. Actually, I don't know, it would have been helpful if I had brought a screwdriver. Oh wait, that's cool. It uses the pre-existing clamping hardware on here. Then we've just gotta make sure to peel the bottom of the AIO. For our thermal paste, I've got some Arctic MX4. Dun, 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 dun. Let's spatula it up. We did have a little bit of a thermal paste accident along the side there. AIO mounted. Before we deal with the fans and stuff on the rad, let's quickly chuck our RAM in. We've got Thermaltake Tough RAM RGB, 3600 MHz DDR4, 64 gigs in total. Here it is. 4 DIMMs of memory in. Let's chuck our SSD in next, methinks. I'm going to take this heat spreader off. For our SSD, we've got a Samsung 990 Pro. So pretty fast for a SSD. 2 terabytes. Oh, there she is. Now, I have heard this SSD has a few firmware issues. What is arguably one of the fastest M.2s at the market at the moment. I know Gen 5 is getting ready to come out, but for Gen 4, this is like the top. This is going to become my daily driver, so I'm very excited for it. And then once it's to a certain point of assembled, we will do a quick post test. I want to do a post test before we get too far into the build, because full transparency, this is the second Aorus board I've had to use of the exact same type. Because when I was doing a post test of the first one, it didn't post. This time I'm nervous and do want to do a post test. Oh, cable managing this later is going to be a nightmare. Now, we're not quite ready to use the graphics card in the case yet, so let's just quickly grab a spare graphics card I've got. This is a spare 1050 Ti I've got lying around. This was actually the one that was originally in my first build. Power is now going to it. We've got lights from the RAM, which I think is a good sign. Now I've just got to short 2 pins. Hallelujah. We have LEDs. Do we have a visual? We have a visual! Mega Man. So the things we're keeping or not. This graphics card, very much keeping. This is an RTX 3060. I got this for Christmas, because I've been planning this build for a little while. And so a family member got me this for Christmas. Oh, here it is. The RTX 3060. Though, because I got a Gigabyte one, it did lock me to RGB Fusion 2.0, which kind of sucks, because I've heard not very good things about that software. I'm going to switch all these SATA cables for black ones. Okay, I've got a few expansion cards in here at the moment. I've got a Wi-Fi card that uses PCIe, which my new motherboard has Wi-Fi, nor PCIe. So I can't use that if I wanted to, nor do I need to. But the other two, I've got a USB-C card, and I've got a USB hub, which just gives me some extra USB 3.0. And now, look, neither of these two cards are bad, but neither of them are great looking, and this motherboard has a lot more USBs and stuff than my old one did. So I'm not going to be using any of them. Now, this machine was actually, it wasn't a bad machine. It was by no means massively powerful, but it got the job done for what it was. It got me through for a very long time. I'm due for an upgrade, but this was my first proper PC. I had a gaming laptop before this, but this was my first PC. USB-C card, because I thought I would need the functionality of USB-C, because this motherboard didn't natively have it, and then I didn't use it once. Now this radiator I am hoping to top mount, and upon measuring it, the measurement said it would have enough clearance. First fan removed. I will say this much, it feels really weird taking apart my primary driver. This was actually the first ever PC I built, fun fact. Oh, this needs a dusting. I'll wipe this down before I put the new parts in. Anything we're not keeping is now out, so we've got our Samsung drive and our other SSD from Apacer still in there. We've also got our 2 hard drives down the bottom and our power supply. So even though I can't blow it out, I'm going to give it a full wipe down and everything with some antibacterial wipes just to get everything out of the way. And like do what dusting I can do without the air compressor. So all the old stuff is out, and I was checking the sizing in the radiator to make sure I was top mounting it. And I can't top mount it, because these get in the way. So what I'm going to have to do is, even though it's a 240, chuck it in this front bit here, and just have a front mounted radiator blowing heat in, sadly. And then put 2 of my sickle flows up the top. Oh, but that's annoying. It's my only option, but it sucks. First we're going to take it out, because if we want any hope of plugging in these SATA drives down here, we're going to have to plug the SATA cables into them first, because otherwise it's going to be a really tight fit. Okay, so I've got all my SATA drives plugged in and everything. Next I'm going to chuck in the motherboard and the AIO radiator. Okay, it was more of a pain than I wanted it to be, because I had a few problems with this radiator, but it's finally got the motherboard mounted in and the front fans. I mounted these, went to mount the bottom one because I bought an extra one to fill all the fan things. Realized the radiator got in the way, and then had to take the radiator back out to mount that bottom fan, and then put the rest back in. But next I want to run a few cables and do some cable management. Okay, it got pretty late, so it's now the next day, but all the fans are in and cable managed. I'm just doing some cable management down below, and then it's GPU time. I have really got to get my hands on a modular power supply. There's so many cables. So I'm due for a case upgrade, because I've got so many cables in there because it's not modular that this has happened. Like, it pushes in, but it won't stay in. But I never want to see... I would be content if I never had to open this side panel again. That cable management is horrible, but it's the best I can do with the case size. But that's everything in, I think. I put this front panel back on with the 3 fans up the front. I hope I haven't forgotten anything obvious, but I think it's time for the GPU. As I've already said, we've got the RTX 3060 from Gigabyte, which dictated the whole fact that we needed RGB Fusion 2.0. It should fit around the tubes. It's a little tighter with the tubes than I would like, but it fits. But I did buy one of these for the graphics card. And my 8-pin goes into that instead. I'm going to have to open the side because I haven't given it enough. With that, I think everything's good to go. Let's plug it in and give it a test run. We're now plugged into power. If I hit the power switch, and then we hit the power button. Oh, she spins to life. And all of the RGB turns on. It looks like everything's turning on properly. I've still got to check a monitor on it, so I'm going to power it down, but it looks like everything's posting. Everything boots up. Do we get a visual? We do! Hallelujah! I'm going to start this computer with things like Windows. Just doing the Wi-Fi antenna. And the Wi-Fi antenna has a few peels on it. All 64 gigs of my RAM detected. Got to get them up to the right speed. My CPU. Everything seems like it's detected. All the other fans. Except for one fan down the bottom isn't spinning, which... Oh, it's because it's hitting a cable, isn't it? Okay, it wasn't too hard. I just had to push it out of the way with my finger. But it's all going, it's all spinning. And everything's detected. Time to set up Windows. And with that, CPU is registered. Our RAM is running. All 64 gigs at the right speed. We're just going to get the drivers for the GPU, but I know that works. We've got our 990 Pro for our boot device. 870, a 1TB hard drive, a 250 gig hard drive, and a 120 gig SATA flash drive. I'm going to move it back to my setup. I've got my PCI covers in, so I've really just got to put on the side panel now, I think, and then we're all set. I'm so happy with this. I'm just setting it up, and I've got RGB Fusion 2.0 installed. Look, it's not a great RGB software, but it's doing the trick. I've got a color cycle going at the moment, and look at it. Oh my god, it's finally saying it's not blue. All my fans used to be blue. It's hooked up to my main setup now. And I'm just trying to install a few things and get a few things ready. But, look at it. We've got 3D Mark installed, and let's run Time Spy. Now, before this, my CPU score was about 4,000, and I've moved over the RTX 3060, so it's still going to be about the same at about 9,000. My graphics score is still about the same. But, oh my god, my CPU score has gone from about 4,000 to about 12,000. And it's 3 times more powerful. And it's got things like Zen 3 on it, because my last one was an old Xeon. And after comparing my result online of 9,436 total, it is better than 54% of all other results. I'm in the top 50% of PCs now. Huzzah. So after running a few games for benchmarking, every one of these games are on their highest settings. Valorant ran at a consistent 300 to 400 FPS, topping out at one point at 1,499. Valorant ran fine and great, but Valorant also runs on a potato. The next game I then played was Assassin's Creed Unity, which is a bit older, so that ran at a fairly consistent 75 FPS, and it had a few drops, but it never really went consistently below 60. The game I played after that was Fortnite on high settings, which once again ran pretty well. That one didn't run as well, that one stayed a consistent in between 60 and 70, but overall ran pretty well. And the GPU was definitely the bottleneck in this system, opposed to the CPU. And then the last game we had was Overwatch, which ran a very clean 75 FPS. The computer barely broke a sweat, and it was on higher settings. Now I'm very happy with this new computer. It's aesthetic, it's power, for the price I paid for it. All of these prices are going to be in AUD. I paid $200 for the CPU, $350 for the motherboard, $100 for 4 of the sickle flow fans, $300 for the RAM, $150 for the AIO. That's everything I upgraded. $13 for this little adapter over here, but it came with 3 of them. $30 for the cable extensions. All the other stuff came out of my old build, like the graphics card, which is an RTX 3060, was already in there, but I know that was gotten for me for Christmas for about $550. Oh yeah, there's also the 990 Pro in there for about $200. The case I paid $65 for. The 870 I paid $100 for. The other one I paid $20 for. My 1TB hard drive tucked in under there, I paid $40 for. My 250GB hard drive, I paid a little bit less for. I think I paid $10 for that. Which, everything combined, here is the total of my build. I'll also put USD for the total of my build, which I'm pretty happy with for its power. And now, I think there's one thing that this computer is still missing. Good old wallpaper engine, aesthetic wallpapers. There we go. Thank you everyone very much for watching this video about the brand new build of my PC. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Sure, it's got a few small flaws, like it's using RGB Fusion, but overall I'm very happy with it, especially for the price. Full transparency, some of the things were things like second-hand parts, but I hope everyone enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It would help out a ton as I'm a small tech creator. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.